Everybody ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. Ready to party.
Welcome, campers, to another glorious episode of the Campfire Gaming Podcast Book Club Edition. Today's entry, we're going on a journey. Gentle Feathers, are you ready to talk about sand?
There was snow too.
I was
There
gonna
was
say,
snow. You're right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Campfire Gaming Podcast. My name is Mike. I will be the host for tonight. With me, as always, is Rich, Matt, and Chris. Gentle dudes. How are we holding up?
Doing great, man. How you
Yeah.
doing?
Not
pretty
too
good.
bad. Not too bad.
Could snow be considered cold sand?
No.
It is a wrapper from Canada.
Wait, so I guess
Sand or snow?
it's a morale test.
Snow. You don't
Oh,
know
okay.
Informer by Snow?
man, I
No.
haven't thought about that song in a long
I
time.
like it, boom, boom, down. I don't want to get us sued, so I won't go too
Yeah,
Yeah,
far.
this is how we get not demonetized. I don't know.
Well, today's episode is another book club episode, so we're on screen. Hi, pretty people. You can see us. We're going to be talking about the game Journey. As usual, there are spoilers ahead. We will be talking about the entirety of the game, not just our impression. So if you plan on playing, don't listen to all of it, or do listen to all of it so you can see what you're going to get yourself into. Take your pick, but that decision is yours. Don't blame us.
I would
Good
almost
morning.
say more so than any other game, this is one you should probably play before you hear us talk about it.
I mean, maybe.
Yep.
We'll get into that.
This was a user, not user. I
This
gotta
is
get
this
Listener.
is
I
a,
work in
community.
software. This is
it's a community recommendation.
Yeah.
yes,
Yep.
community, not user.
Yep. So if you wanna, if you the dear listener want to recommend a book club for us to play, and you want to play with us as well for our future book clubs, be sure to join us on Discord, because that is where we coordinate all this stuff.
Yeah, we've got a whole channel just set up for like book club stuff, suggestions, recommendations. I think we have another recommendation coming up.
Coming in the
Um,
future, yeah.
Yeah, we have a
We're
so-
waiting for some stuff for that
couple
one,
of
but yeah.
them.
So that'll be interesting when we get to those. But this one, again, spoilers ahead. Ready to jump in?
Yeah, real quick,
Ready.
I'll say thanks for Trey for listening to us, and for this. I guess we'll find out if it was a great pick or not. I guess.
So
right?
here's the most important question. If we didn't like it, can we dump on it, or is that not okay because we're going to hurt somebody's feelings?
We got to be honest about it.
Yeah, we're all
Ah.
about playing a game and being honest about it.
Good.
Chris, were your feelings hurt when we dumped on Metro?
I mean, yes, but I'm used to it, so it's okay.
All right, so we will be like Shakira's hips, and we shall not lie.
Wow.
Did I ever tell you about my theory that George Washington lives in Shakira's hips because he never told a lie? Apparently, I never met him, so I don't know. But the reincarnation of George Washington is Shakira's hips.
So Journey,
Yeah.
originally released for the PlayStation 3 back in 2012, created by That Game Company, a small-ish studio.
Mhm.
They had made this is a couple of people who were coming out of the, what was it, University of Southern California,
Yeah,
USC. Yeah, University of Southern California. And they decided to create a game company after finishing their master's degrees. So that would be Genova Chen and Kelly Santiago. They, I think it was Kelly Santiago who kind of eventually, oh no, it was Chen. No, I should get my people straight. Genova Chen made the game Flow in Flash.
Yeah.
And then they ended up porting that essentially to the PlayStation. And then eventually they came out with, I think it was another game. It was, I thought there was another game in between then. And then Journey
Flower.
came. Flower,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Yep. So they made Flower, and then in 2012 they released Journey for the PlayStation 3. So yeah, where do you guys want to start with this one? Do you want to start with the story?
Yeah, why don't we give an overview of what the game is? I think that's where we tend to start, is what is the game like? What is the background behind it? What's the story? How does it play? Things like that.
Yeah,
I guess that's a good question. What is the story?
I don't even know.
that's a good question. I guess one thing we should definitely point out is that this game is incredibly short. Like really, really like my playtime for it was like an hour and 41 minutes, and the game was over.
Yeah.
I don't know.
think mine was about 3 hours, but I stopped and ate dinner in between. But yeah, so I think it was 90 minutes. 2 hours is around, I think we're all of us. And I think
Mhm.
even looking online, it's kind of average is about 90
Yeah.
minutes to 2 hours. So
Yeah.
it's not a very long game at all. This episode, we'll be lucky if it's as long as it takes you to beat the game.
Ooh. Should we try and make the episode longer than the game?
No,
We don't need to force that.
Yeah,
We
that'd
don't
be
need-
hard.
That
If
would
our
be.
conversation takes us that far, sure, why
Yeah.
not?
Right.
So my understanding is you are some kind of traveler going from the middle-ish of the desert to a location that seems important to some reason or for some reason off in the distance on a mountain. It's like I don't even know how to describe it other than like a journey. You're just walking from point A to point B and taking on any of the obstacles, or in this case, puzzles and monsters that are, along the way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the game is essentially, the story is that you're basically unfolding the story of your own journey. Because as you progress through every level, you end up sitting down at like a checkpoint, so to speak, and then you end up not speaking to like a figure dressed in like a white robe.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar to what Mike looks like right now. Yeah.
Oh.
A figure in a white robe, and they basically kind of uncover like it just looks like the story of your own journey towards, it's like they're retelling your own story
Mhm.
is essentially what I'm kind of getting out of it.
When are you guys going to start cosplaying with me for each of these? Like, I already got the Greg Miller. Now I'm doing some Journey. Feeling a
when
little
we
left
get
out.
a budget for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
we
gonna
need
be
a
the key.
budget.
That's fair.
Yeah, so I mean, playing through the game at like, I mean, obviously there was the objective and there was something about that was driving you to, I mean, the game starts out, you're in a desert and you see just that big point of interest, that mountain with that light coming out of it, and you instantly know that's, I want to go to there. And that's what you do for the game. But I mean, like along the way you discover these murals and stuff, and that's where you get some of that story, but there's no talking, there's no text, there's nothing. It's just there's a lot of music and sound in it that kind of goes along with it, but you're never really told what was going on. And as I do with some of these games, I did it with Control, is you can kind of start going down a rabbit hole, and there's a community out there that just tries to kind of figure out the meaning behind this. And there's a lot of just I was watching a video about like, it was there. If you notice in the murals, there's all these, I don't know we don't even have names for them. The cloth people, the robe people, but they were all white and it looked like this red cloth, which is part of the game mechanics, comes and it builds up this civilization. And then the civilization kind of moves away from cloth and fighting over it, and they start fighting each other. That's where the monsters come from later in the game. Again, and then you're here supposed to be some sort of like messiah. But again, everybody kind of interprets this their own way. It's pretty crazy. Again, there's a lot of theory out there, and it seems like depending on who you are and how you look at this, there's a lot of explanations for what the story could be or mean.
Did you
to different
see
people.
Did you see if that game company or their dev team or whoever actually weighed in on what that was?
I didn't. I didn't go too far down that rabbit hole.
I
because
kind
there
of
was-
hope. I kind of hope it's nothing. I kind of hope that they were
Mhm.
just like, "Oh, we want to make a really pretty game," and this is
Yeah.
what came out of it.
Actually, that's probably not too far from the truth. From what I know about the company themselves is that what they really try to strive for is more of an emotional experience, foregoing that of a narrative and even foregoing that of gameplay.
Mhm.
Like they have a very different approach to game design in general. That is, they focus more on what emotions they can evoke out of
Yeah.
the person playing it rather than what stories they could tell, what theming they could, put behind it. I mean, I think even Genova Chen has even talked about this in the past, where he's mentioned that, I think if this was more at the time of when they were developing either Journey or Flower, but they talked about how they really weren't, they felt as though that they weren't really old enough or like wise or mature enough to really tell like a very thematic story. But what they really tried to go for was that bringing emotion out of the player. So that's probably not far from the truth. It's probably just a load of bullshit as far as story, but
Well, it could be just how each individual person interprets their journey, right? What kind of as you were saying, just trying to get these emotions out of people. Maybe it means different things. I mean, there's art and things out there that there's no reason behind it, but it each person interprets it differently for themselves, and that's kind of what I got out of reading going a little bit down this rabbit hole. Is, again, not that there's this specific story that's being told, but that everybody, and I think the community around us, kind of has a way that they interpret it, and this is how they see it, and this is what their journey meant to them.
The two pieces I heard that they pulled from the most are one, probably one of the more famous piece of works, the Joseph Campbell's Monomyth, A Hero with 1,000 Faces, that influenced
a classic hero's tale.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, Star Wars is kind of held up as one of the big examples of it in modern culture, but it draws from that, as well as the stages of life. Your character is born, moves forward in life, and dies, and that's kind of just it. And it's not about forcing a story into that scenario. It's about you just kind of experiencing it. I did find a quote at, I believe, a DICE speech at some point that Chen noted that 3 of 25 testers for the game cried when they finished it.
All right, who cried?
I did not cry. I was touched by the end, but I did not cry.
That's 12%. So who here was the 12th percent?
I will say I'm a little shocked I didn't cry.
I didn't. I was more confused.
I wasn't,
because I was like, what was that about? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and what I guess, like, the best way that I would describe this game, it is very much like when you're talking about film, there's a category of film called like an art house film. This would be an art house film of a video game. It's not appealing to a mass market.
No.
It and that's why I think that this is a game that I think a lot of people could probably skip, because it is really not a game for everybody. I would say it is very niche. There is not a lot of gameplay to it. There is only an hour, maybe 2 hours worth of gameplay. It's very linear. There's no dialogue in it, which I think is actually kind of a good thing, that they were able to get as much information. Like, if there is one thing that I would praise the game for, is that they do a really good job of showing, not telling. And I think that's the whole emphasis of the game, was that's actually a really big note for that, is that they did really good job at showing but not telling. Because there's no dialogue.
Don't know that I agree. They made a very beautiful game, but I was lost. I tried to get as many of the murals as I could. I was watching everything go, and it's not that I'm not like deep and capable of understanding these things. I was just like, this is super generic. Like, it's really pretty, and I get that, but there's no like emotion evoking capability there for me. Like, it was just like, cool, I have no connection to this. None.
Right. And I felt the same way too. I felt like it was trying to evoke emotion out of me with the scenery and what was going on around me, with the weird little carpet beasts and things like that. And it wasn't resonating. It just didn't hit. It didn't land for me.
The closest that I felt to it was like in the snow area, when that one rug like freezes and falls down. I was like, oh. That rug is frozen. Meh.
I actually felt sad.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're all emotionless beings,
except for Chris.
Except for Chris was the 12%.
Yeah. Chris was on the verge of. Chris was on the verge of crying.
I could have gotten there if I wasn't focused on trying to complete it for this and recording footage.
Just go play it again.
Did
No,
you?
Probably will.
I guess
mean-
my question to you, Chris, then is: did you cry at the end of the Lord of the Rings?
Which ending?
Take your pick. Randall's ending.
No,
that's
Lord
what
of
this-
the Rings, I
that's-
did not.
That's what this game is. It is walking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is exactly Randall Graves' description of the Lord of the Rings. That's what
Except
they
there's
made.
no ring dropping at the end of the
Except for
the
you
game.
drop
Except
yourself
for you
into
drop,
a mountain,
yeah.
and get
You're
shot
like-
out.
You're like,
No,
we don't know
I
if he was
just-
wearing a ring.
I mean, one, I know I am someone who can and find that. I know I'm good at finding a connection to characters, regardless of who they are and what they. I will project myself into pretty much everything, especially. My current situation kind of makes that even easier than it has been in the past. But it also came from, I think, did you guys ever meet someone in the game? Were you guys
No.
ever able to play with
Yeah,
someone
I got
else?
three separate people.
Okay.
I had
That was the
I-
weird thing. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say, I thought that was one of the cool aspects about the game. I like when games seamlessly kind of join people with you
Mhm.
and you do stuff. Now, granted, I only saw 2 people, but at the end of the game, through the credits, if you guys watched them, they tell you all the people you met
Yeah.
along your journey. And apparently there was 4 people I met. I only met 2. And I also thought it was a good touch where they didn't put names. You don't know who you met, right? It was just somebody there. And I know there was one time where one of the areas, it was a bridge section. I didn't know you could do your little, what was it, circle, and you ping. Basically, it was like a ping, but it was like a musical note, right?
Yeah.
And that if you're near the red cloth that's kind of dead and brown and not healthy, you do that, it livens it up, and then you can fill your red scarf power.
Mm,
I don't know.
Yeah.
What
Your
I don't,
scarf ability.
don't know the name of this stuff, right?
Yeah, it's your scarf. Yeah.
But you know, I saw like that you had to do the ping around different things, but I didn't know the other little floaty random ones around the area. So this other dude came in, or other red robed person came in, and they started pinging. I was like, oh, okay. So anytime I see any of this fluttery stuff that looks like the scarf stuff, I can go ping it and refill my crap, you know, and it lets you get around the level faster. And then in reverse, later in the one of the later levels, you know, I was figuring stuff out, and some dude came. There you go. Some random red robe person comes in, and they looked like they were lost and didn't know what they were doing. So I was running around and triggering different things and then floating on. And I just thought it was kind of a cool aspect to the game when it played out that way, you know, and probably feeds into whatever emotion they were trying to build in the game and the story about, you know, this is your journey and about the people you meet along the way.
You're
So-
not alone.
Which
And
is funny because I had 2 names in my credits, never saw them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can drop in your world. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
But again, that was I only
I
saw
never
2,
saw
but apparently
anybody.
I had 4. So yeah, 2 other people I didn't.
But
I
they
didn't see
had
at all.
an invisible impact on your journey.
Somehow.
Apparently.
Mhm.
The best chunk that I had working with somebody was right away when we hit the snow. Your scarf starts freezing.
Yeah.
Well, we both hit the snow
Just-
at the same time. Like we worked through that puzzle before it together the whole way.
Mhm.
Because we could play off of each other to keep our scarf power going. So if you're near somebody, it rebuilds your scarf power. Like the act of togetherness makes you better.
Mm.
So the whole winter thing, we got through it almost to the end together, just leapfrogging with each other, using our like warmth to get through. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh yeah, this would suck by myself. I really want to see how you guys went through that section by yourself, and was it pretty easy? Because like the wind wasn't bothering us. But right at the end, like for whatever reason, person I was with just was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop here because those giant flying things are scary. I was like, I'm gonna keep going, and I just left that person there for the dead of winter. I don't know, but like
You left him there to die.
yeah, basically. I was like, well, if you're not gonna join me, then I guess I'm going to the summit by myself.
So-
See ya.
Potentially it's thought that all those little rock pillars kind of literally everywhere in all the levels, right, are basically like tombstones. So maybe
Mhm.
on my journey I went by the person and it's the one you left and they died there.
Probably
Could
So,
be.
they didn't make it.
Yeah.
I will say I did do the summit by myself. It
Same
was
here.
Same.
frustrating.
It was super frustrating.
it pissed
Yep.
me off.
There was just a couple of sections where what I really got annoyed with was when the wind would blow and it would just kind of blow you backwards. And it's just like, ugh, like you're already walking really slow in the snow in a game that's all walking, and it's like, this is just a drag.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it's just slow and boring.
I was annoyed because I felt, I don't know how many are in the game. I didn't get an achievement, so clearly I didn't get all of them. But again, I don't even know what to call them. These little scarf extensions are hidden around everywhere, right? These little
Oh yeah.
white balls. And you start out with a relatively short scarf at the start of the game. So when you have your power to jump, you can't really jump as far, as
Can't
high.
propel.
So
Yeah.
So as you collect these power scarf orb things, it gets longer. And I felt like I had a really long one. And in again, it's kind of continuous, but I'll say it was like the 5th level when you first meet those weird flying monster things. Apparently they can steal a lot of that for you or from you. I didn't know
Yep.
this because, humble brag here, I made it through and got an achievement. It said that, or trophy that said I didn't lose any of my scarf to whatever those things were. And I was like, oh shit, I can lose this. And it pissed me off when I got to the snow area and you lose all of it. I'm guessing, except for if you maybe have a friend with you. And
With
you
a
guys can-
buddy,
yeah,
the scarf,
maybe.
it shortens a little bit, but to that togetherness vibe, me and somebody else were going through that like dark area where it's you first see those flying things.
Mhm.
I like guinea pigged it for us because there was like 3 of us standing there, and I was like, oh well, we're all hiding, I'll just run out there and touch it. Like, it's got to be a big puppy, right? Nothing in this game has hurt me yet. And then I
Yep.
lose like 3/4 of my scarf, and I was like, no.
That
Yeah.
was the exact same thing that happened to me. It's like, ooh,
No,
what's that
it-
thing? Oh,
Yeah, so I was a little bummed at that part because it's like I had a pretty long scarf, which made some of the levels fun just because you had a lot of that extra jump and floating and I'm assuming their other games are similar, that this flow to the game, so where it's not so much of just a walking simulator. You can kind of float 2 sections and refill and just kind of keep smoothly moving throughout the environment.
They
Yeah.
punished us like just like in real life. We go out of our comfort zone, go to meet new things. They punish you.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought the game mechanics overall were pretty fun. You just didn't get a lot to do with them. Like you had a couple of sections where you're able to do the sliding mechanic and do some sort of like surfing down the
oh, that was
hills or
so
whatever.
much fun. That was so
Yeah, it was
pretty.
really cool. And you could do like a little bit of flying, and it was fun, but it was so short-lived and you really didn't get to do a lot. And I thought that the puzzle solving was really easy.
It was pretty rudimentary.
Yeah, I didn't. Once you kind of figured out, the mechanics of jumping and going to the groups of floaty red scarves and
Mhm.
refill your scarf power. It was. I didn't struggle with the game at all. I don't even know. Can you die? I don't even know if you can die.
No idea.
I don't.
I
Think,
got
I think you
hit.
just lose pieces of your scarf. I think that's
Yeah.
it.
I feel
I-
like I fell off of something and died. I feel like I just like out of the map. I don't think it was like a local
Mhm.
thing. I think I fell out of the level, and then it brought me back to like the checkpoint of the last mural
was,
or the
yeah.
last like
Mhm.
statue that I unleashed the people at.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not very, I mean, the game isn't challenging. You really don't have a consequence for failure of any kind, if you can even really call it failure, if you can even really fail. So it's like, yeah, there's just not a lot of game to this game, is kind of how I felt.
It was. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily knock it for it. I mean, this is definitely a game I wouldn't have played unless it was for the book club. And it definitely was one of those like artsy fartsy games that probably a lot of the meaning is lost on me. But I mean, it was just kind of like a chill experience,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I honestly like thought the soundtrack was pretty good. It did a very good job of kind of, building up, like movies and stuff do, during core moments or some of the very scenic parts, like when you were sliding down. It was kind of in this building, but the camera panned out sideways and you could see you just gliding on this hill and out and about. You saw some of the city and the mountains. So it was, and the music built up to a lot of that moment. So,
I
I
nabbed.
thought as far as that was, it was just, and then when you're in the danger areas with the flying, whatever they are, I don't even know what you want to call them. You know, there's kind of that like kind of scary emotional music. So I thought they did a really good job with the sound design. And again, it was just kind of just a chill experience. Yeah, I wasn't challenged. Again, maybe I'm just a, emotionless person, but so maybe that music was supposed to help trigger something in me to feel things. But I don't know. But I mean, again, it was maybe the flow was just good. It was just a chill experience. It was just 90 minutes of an experience, which you could start over again if you wanted.
I will say that even though it was short and there wasn't a lot to do, while I was playing it, I was in it. Like
Yeah.
I was completely immersed in the world that it was. I played it straight through without a break. It just finished it. Yeah, so I mean, it was really engrossing. Like you were able to really just lose yourself a little bit in there. So that chill experience, I will agree with. I think it was pretty nice. I took a bunch of screenshots too that I'll throw up on our Twitter of that slide down with that sideways view. So
I think I got one too. I have to go like 40 screenshots, so got to narrow it down to a couple. But yeah,
I can definitely get the whole chill experience thing, but I suppose I mean maybe I just require a little bit more out of it because I felt myself getting a little bit more bored than anything else. It's just I felt like there was really no challenge to this. There was really nothing. It was really more or less just walking from start to finish, and I really had no attachment to anything that was going on in the game. So it was like I didn't care that much. So it was like, that's why I think that this really isn't a game that appeals to a wide range of people who play games. It's a lot more for the people who are really like into like the really artsy stuff, because that's a lot of what this game is. It's like very heavy on the sound design, on the visuals. It's like a lot more of the game looked like it was going for like really big cinematography shots rather than like engaging gameplay. I mean, I think it was pretty immersive for the most part, like it held my attention for the less than 2 hours that I played it. So I guess that was good, because maybe if it had gone any longer, I probably would have lost interest and maybe it would have overstayed its welcome a bit. But
this came out in 2012, and I mean, this really felt like an indie game. I don't mean this in a bad way, but like a capstone project for a game, a college course, where again, this is very polished. This doesn't seem, janky, but like, it wasn't this huge built up experience, this huge game with all these crazy systems and mechanics. Is these people probably had a vision of just this is what we want to do, this is the experience we're going for, and they didn't load it up with a whole bunch of extra stuff. So I guess that can be a pro and a con. 90-minute game. I'm glad I had this free on PlayStation. I think it would have been like 90 minutes for what is 15 bucks.
Yeah, $15 is the normal price.
Yeah,
I
would have done it for the podcast, but I think I would have been, had I done this personally, would have been probably a little disappointed for, again, unless to your point, Rich, unless this is a game that really kind of speaks to you, that you enjoy, there is that cyclical nature to it, because you literally end the game by getting to the mountain. Spoiler. The credit you get, I don't even know, you get shot out of the mountain cannon as this little glowy white ball, and you fly through the credits and all the places you were, and then you come landing down where you started.
You restart your journey.
Literally starts back where it started, right? Same screen. You can just hit continue or new journey or whatever the option is. And so it's just this constant loop. So I don't know if there's any benefit in that. I guess that's something I didn't look up.
Has anybody beaten it like 100 times to be like, does the journey ever end?
Yeah. I think you do. It just keeps going. These guys don't strike me as the type to add in some like hidden ending or anything like that.
Nope. And then that's, like I said, that's what they were going for. I mean, they were really going for bringing an emotion out of you, not really for gameplay or secrets or action or storytelling. It was literally just, we want to pull emotions out of the player. And that's
Mhm.
kind of their design philosophy when they approach their games.
Through a minimalistic approach.
Very.
There's plenty of games that try to pull emotion out of you and will just tug at your heartstrings every chance they get.
Yeah, it's not manipulative.
Yeah.
Or at least I didn't feel like it was emotionally manipulative. They really tried to like I said, it didn't really resonate with me, but I can see like how it could, you
Mhm.
know, with some people who are really into this sort of stuff, which is why I go back and I say like this is like an art house film of a video game. Like there's going to be like this will have like a really like this will have like a cult following to it that people are just going to love this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But there's going to be a lot of people who are like that was it? Like that's it?
I had a friend of mine when this first came out recommend it to me, and he was a very big art kind of guy. And he was saying it's one of the best games he's ever played. He still said that, you know, like a year ago, like this is one of the best games he's had his hands on. And after finally playing it, I am going to go ask him how. I mean, it just it doesn't resonate with me. I wish there was just a little bit more. Like you guys said, they were very minimalist about like trying to pull that emotion. I just wish there was more. I feel like it was so minimal on everything. There wasn't a lot of content. It was a really pretty world. I'll give them that. The music, again, Matt agreed it was great. But again, the content, it just, I did pay the $15 for it. And if I would have known that the puzzles were this light, I might have sat out. I didn't want to, like, I don't feel like for me that experience is worth the price that I paid for the game.
You got to go play it a couple more times.
Oh, just loop through it a few more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to find all the murals and
I mean,
the scarf upgrades.
So what are your thoughts, Chris?
Oh, well, I was going to say I may actually play this at least 1 or 2 more times before this episode even goes up.
You're gonna have to let us know.
Yeah.
If you finally cry. Just
I
one
mean, it
tear.
doesn't take much.
I just don't know, like, how would you cry? There wasn't like enough there. Even if you're looking at the characteristics in like the little like rugs that were flying around and stuff like that, they were whimsical, but they were not like, they weren't compelling to me. They're like, hey,
Sure,
you can follow me, but it just, there was nothing there that connected me to them other than the fact of like, oh, I touched you and you're magic carpet again. Like,
and that's just how it is. I can't explain why I
explain it.
Felt like I had some type of I was able to project myself into it, and maybe it is because I am kind of currently going through a journey in a sense, and I'm in a very complicated spot, so I'm looking for something to kind of validate my existence, because that has honestly been a big struggle for me right now. Maybe that's it. I honestly don't know, but it definitely was something that by the end I didn't cry, but I definitely felt something.
I mean, I felt like some of the scarf stuff, not that like I was like, ooh, you know, whatever, but like there was what level was it? It was one of the later sand dune ones where like I did feel like, yeah, Mike, you're saying you go over and they fill you up. But once you start meeting those, like the actual, I don't know, I'm gonna call it the flying carpet ones, the larger ones, there was, again, this also leads in, I think, what Rich was saying. There's a lot of that show don't tell is there was nothing telling you to follow them, but the idea of them being able to recharge you again, allowing you to flow through the level, continuously being charged up. They had this whimsical thing, way about them that kind of drew you in to follow them. And they did kind of, it wasn't like a straight path to where you needed to go. But again, it was that kind of like, I should follow them to, at least if nothing else, to keep my powers charged up. And if you did drift away from them, they did follow you. But they kind of hung back for a little bit, because if you also explore that desert area, you can go find murals and more scarf upgrades.
Yeah, but that's the only thing in the game. Like, you're in a whole open area of nothing else but those like flying carpets. So where else are you going to go?
Yeah, and that was one thing I was a little disappointed by, actually, is that during one of like the very first levels, you get to some of these areas with like really big open vistas. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, like I'm learning how to like use this flying mechanic. Maybe I can like fly up over these rocks or something. Like, no, it just pushes you off. Like you see this big open vista and a lot of stuff over there, or like there's just more open space over there. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe I gotta go that way or something. And then it just kind of pushes you off. I'm like, man, it's all right. So I really am on rails. Like
It
this
is
kind of
pretty-
sucks.
Pretty linear.
Yeah.
Which again,
So
I think this was a very artsy game designed in a way to, as we've said multiple times, between the music, the art, and just it being so linear. As they designed it to, again, try to get this emotion out of you and create this journey. I don't think it was meant to have this crazy amount of struggle or exploration or anything like that. I think it was just there to be a fun chill game, is I guess what I'll stick with that one, that you work your way through and hopefully find something that you loved about it.
I think we agree to that aspect. I think what we're saying, I mean, and I don't want to speak just for Rich, but is that we just wanted more out of it, right? Like we understand the intent
Yeah.
and all that, but for, again, being that this is a very targeted game, I think, I just would want more out of it if I was going to play a sequel or something like that. Absolutely bang
Or
up
spend
job
the
for
$15.
yes, to spend the $15. I don't think. I don't know. Would you
Again,
pay 15? Would you pay $15 for 2 hours of something?
No, I mean,
I go
so
to the
one,
movies
this,
all
this
the
game
I was
time.
gonna say
yeah.
I've gone to a theater before.
I mean, this game doesn't, speak to me, right? So it's not my type of game. I think had I paid the $15, I would have been a little disappointed, and maybe have similar, arguments and feelings that you guys did, right? Like there should have been more, but I guess I was a little spoiled and I got it free on PlayStation Plus. God knows when, probably when I had a PlayStation 3, and so it was just pop it up and play it. So for me, there wasn't that entry point where I spent the money, so felt like I needed more out of it. It was a free experience.
Chris, did you play this on iOS at all? Like throw it on your
No,
phone?
I honestly was not aware it was on iOS until about 20 minutes ago.
Did you also know that this is a post-apocalyptic survival horror and first-person shooter?
Is that what it's listed as on iOS?
No, it's what's listed in our notes.
Sorry, I didn't.
Oh,
I
did
didn't
you
update the
copy
notes.
and paste the Metro 2033?
Probably. Yep.
No,
Yep.
that's
Yes,
what
indeedy.
that's what Journey is.
I mean, it's
we played two
looks,
different games.
I mean, it
Well,
looks
the
like it is
post-apocalyptic part
Yeah,
could be real. Again, depending on how you want to interpret the story and the
I
murals.
mean, it's
murals.
ruins, so it's an apocalypse. It might not be the traveler's apocalypse, but
It could have just been left behind too. Like they moved. They
Well,
found
yeah.
water and moved.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
could be.
So I mean, yeah, like
They ran out of
definite-
spice.
I definitely agree with you, Mike. I was lucky enough to get this on sale, so I got it for half off. So, and even then, I was kind of like, But yeah, at $15, I feel like I've definitely paid that same amount for a lot more game. Bastion came a year earlier and is $15, and I would say that there is a lot more game and quality out of that than I would say Journey had.
Looks like we're playing Bastion next. I'm kidding.
That is not what we're playing next. We know what we're playing next.
Bastion's a good one to add to our potential future book club game, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's not a bad game. I do think that I enjoyed this more than Control. I'm not gonna lie. Just Control, whatever it was, didn't resonate with me properly. This one didn't either, but of the two, just I think the time to complete was a little more appealing in this manner. But yeah, I don't know. Good game in general, just not same thing with Control, right? Good game, just not my cup of tea.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't a bad game. It's very niche though, and very artsy. So if you're really into those kinds of like artsy sort of artsy indie games, then you'll probably like it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate my experience. Again, could be partially because I didn't spend money on it. If these are type of games you really enjoy, you're probably gonna love this. I I'd recommend it in that way. If you're a dude bro like me and you just like first person shooters,
Right.
save yourself $15 or $5 or whatever. Or if you're bored one afternoon and just want to go on a journey and you have it free from PlayStation Plus, or I don't even know, a Humble Bundle or something like that, it's 90 minutes, man. If nothing else, the soundtrack was really good and the visuals were cool.
Yeah.
I actually think it'd be good for kids too. Like
Yeah.
there's no real violence in this. There's no anything you have to worry about. And it's just a, slow down and appreciate it kind of game, right?
Mhm.
So, that could be good for some people and their children, especially because it's not terribly difficult. I do think my oldest could probably get through this with relative ease. So yeah, probably a good kids game for sure.
But not the Fortnite kids. There's not enough
No,
action for them.
No.
No, I wouldn't hold their attention at all.
Yeah. There's not enough flossing and rapidly building things.
That's what this game was missing. If it had flossing, I would have paid the 15.
Oh
There
my
you
God.
go.
I forgot there was one thing I wanted to just point out. It's not like a huge discussion topic, and I think we kind of touched on it a little bit. One thing I did love about this game was basically there was no UI. So I thought that was
Mhm.
I did want to call that out. It's something small, and we're kind of giving our opinions on a review of the game, but I don't know why that I love when games can find a way to hide as much of the UI as possible.
It was
And
clean.
in this case,
Mhm.
there was,
It was-
and I thought it
yeah.
was great. It just added to the experience. And really, I mean, it wasn't, as we said, kind of there's lack of mechanics, just jumping and stuff like that, doing your little musical ping. But I mean, your scarf lit up, when you had the jump power, and it slowly you saw it go down, and that was all the essentially UI that you needed to tell you how, your levels of your jump power or floating. I
Right.
don't know what it is.
Right. Yeah, and this
So-
really lends into that whole, if you want to look for a really solid game to kind of use as an example of show don't tell, this game is,
Mhm.
an expert in that regard. For what limited gameplay that there may have been, at the same time, it's very tight. Like the controls feel very good. Like it doesn't feel clunky. The mechanics feel good. Like I said, like a lot of like the sliding and the flying and stuff like that was pretty fun. And I wish I had more to do with that. Like
Yeah.
would be cool to have puzzles to solve with, I don't know, either sliding or flying, more flying or anything like that. Once you kind of get to the mountain, I thought it was a pretty slow burn from all, trekking all the way up because you're walking so slow.
Mhm.
And so you don't really get to utilize a lot of the sliding and the flying and the climbing until like the very end of it. But
I think a lot of games kind of give you those things and they teach you them in the beginning. Like you can do these things, you
mhm,
can jump, you can fly. I enjoyed learning that I could do more with the powers, like your ping. If you were in the air and you ping around a set of other scarfy things, it would propel you up further.
Yeah.
Like you could
Yep.
really leap up there and get there. But this felt like, just to your point, Rich, is like you got all these skills and you learned all of them just in time to not use them at the end. Like it fell off at that point. But I did really appreciate not having a UI or any kind of a heads up display or any interface, because
right.
everything you found that you could do was your own exploration. So that is
Right.
a really, really
Mhm.
cool aspect of it.
Right. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And I think that is an extremely talented and powerful thing to pull off, is that you can make an entire game without a single tutorial message saying use circle to jump, or be sure to, here's the thing on the other side of the map that is conveniently the camera is pointing at this thing. So now you know where to go. Like it does a very, very good job. And I would almost even say that like is a masterclass in showing, not telling for video games. They
I
did
will-
a really good job.
They did a good job, but I'll disagree with calling it a masterclass. I have played several games that don't do it. They don't give you the UI. They don't tell you how to do things. They don't. It's like I got to figure it out as I go, and I'm probably going to die 9 times trying to figure it out. They had so much less to work with than some of these other complicated like titles that don't give you that instruction or that interface in the beginning. Where like, how do I even play this game? You get frustrated and quit. This had 2 buttons. Like realistically, you jump and you absorb and you ping. That's it. There wasn't anything more to it. So having it be so simplistic in actions allows them to have an easier time in, showing, not telling.
I mean, that's fair. I don't play a lot of these games that have that, but yeah, I think they did a very, very solid job.
I'm trying to think of something we played recently that didn't give us that.
Ion
Like,
Fury.
do you have an example?
Yeah, Ion Fury. Ion Fury didn't give you. I didn't know you could
I would-
use health potions through that entire thing or throw.
I didn't know-
whatever.
There were health potions.
I didn't know how to
see,
use
here's
the
the thing
revolver
about
the
that,
right
though.
way.
The
Right,
right
but-
click on that. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a difference between just not presenting information that is relevant, because it still had, a UI with your ammo and your all
I
the
was
other
gonna say they're not the same.
nonsense about it, and you could kind of infer what all that means. But I mean, to go completely UI-less and then be able to explain how to play the game without a single word, without even any dialogue, I think is just wonderfully done. So they were able to teach you how to play the game with no dialogue, no message boxes, nothing, without a UI.
I'm pretty sure that they had in the very first section I played on Steam, they had a left click and a right click. Like they showed you a mouse on the bottom of the screen with like a left click or a right click to do the ping. I'm fairly certain that was there.
I think you're right, because the PlayStation
yeah.
used motion controls, and they had a controller that went like this.
But that was only for controlling letting the motion controller affects the camera.
Yeah.
I don't recall it ever telling you anything else. I mean, I
I don't-
have the footage. I can peel it back.
No, I
and-
mean,
I don't
yeah,
remember if it told you to
Mike
jump or
is
ping
right.
at all.
There was, at least for the PC version, there was
Yeah,
that
and-
just basically said
One,
you left click. Once you walk up to a certain thing, you left click, and then
I
you go to the other thing and you right click, and then that was
I could
it.
see that being a thing for the PC version because it's different than a controller. A controller, you only have so many different inputs, and
Well,
they're kind of mapped the same way. But this game translated to a PC significantly after the fact by
It's
about
only like 2019, wasn't it?
yeah. I was gonna say it took about 7 years.
It
Yeah,
only
but
just
they
came to
still-
like the Epic Game Store.
They still only had 2 buttons, and every
Sure.
input that I was used to with the PC, like spacebar, things like that, just did one of the 2 options. So
But they still wanted to communicate like, hey, I know you have all these keys. These are the only ones that actually matter. So I can understand that on the PC that I didn't have that experience on the PlayStation at all.
I'm really interested to see if you had, like, if you just like don't remember it, or if it was
I
like
mean,
a
I'll
very
scroll.
tiny at the bottom. I'd be
I'll
interested to see.
I'll scroll through the
remember if it was
footage
a-
and see it because I recorded the whole experience.
So, do you have an example of like a game that does this better?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess from my point of view, then yes, it is. It does quite a masterful job of nonverbal communication with the player.
So the way that wounding works, right?
Mhm.
You need to take
I'd
Yeah,
agree.
I never once felt like this wasn't like
Did you have to
Undertale,
break
where I
out
had to go open a
the Prima guide?
Yeah.
Did you bust out your Prima's guide
huge,
for this
just
one?
flipping through it like
It was 4 pages long.
how do you construct this bridge to get across it? How do you get past the floating monsters? No, did not have the guide up at all.
whenever they're equal.
Yeah, I never struggled once in the game trying to figure out what to do. Yeah, it again, it was just what was the purpose of a lot of it, but that was just in general the game and the story. So
Mm-hmm.
what did the murals mean? I had to go watch a couple YouTube videos to see what people thought they it all meant. So
It's what you make of it, man.
Mhm. I was gonna say this one's
The
definitely
journey
up
is
to
your own. Yep.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable.
So I mean, like we kind of started this. I mean, I'd recommend it if you had it for free, or if these are you like these artsy type games. Again, the visuals were good. The music, I thought the soundtrack was great. It was a fun experience for the book club. Had it not been recommended for a book club, I probably would never have played this.
Same.
Again, just I enjoyed my 90 minutes with it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It's just not something that I would normally play.
So you
Which I think is kind of the nice thing about the book clubs. Is just trying to get out there and play different things like Metro. But yeah. What did Mike, Chris?
I would not have played it like I said, a friend of mine was telling me you got to play this. Is the best game hands down that he's played at the time. I had no interest. I looked at it and I was like, doesn't look like there's a lot of puzzles, doesn't look like there's any like extreme gore and violence, no dark themes. I'm probably out. So I wouldn't play it on my own if it wasn't a book club game. I would suggest letting my child play it and see what he thinks and let him just kind of go through it because he's going to be enamored by all of it. I don't think it was worth buying.
Not at full price, at least.
Not at full price, no. If you can get it for half off, like $7, sure. Again, with your comment, Chris, to like, yeah, you go to movies for $15. You get more out of movies than you did with this game.
Depends on the movie.
Depends on the movie, right?
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, this game. I love the Lord of the Rings, but still, yeah, I don't know. For me, this was kind of a quick time sink that I almost want back, but it was cool to be like, yep, I didn't miss out.
Right.
The funny part is, to me, I definitely, if it wasn't for the book club, this game would have passed me by. But I will honestly say I really appreciated playing it. I'll probably play it again a few more times, at least once this week, and probably down the road as well. These are the kind of games like I'm a big fan of the quote unquote walking simulators, like What Remains of Edith Finch or Gone Home, or those kind of games that kind of have a more contained story that don't, or a theme that they're kind of approaching. And Hero with a Thousand Faces is one of my favorite books. I love it. So this did speak to me to an extent. So no, I'm glad I played it. It is definitely not a game for everybody, and I wouldn't tell everybody to play it. But if you do like some of those kind of more art house style films or stories or concepts, give it a shot. You're not taking up too much time of your life, and realistically, I mean, regardless of the general complaints about it, it's $15. I'm willing to spend $15, and I don't even have a job right now.
That's just bad money management. But
Well.
this is not financial advice. No, it was a good game. Like 100%. This was a good game. And if you want to pay full price for it and support these guys, go for it. With Chris's statement there, though, it is not for everyone. It is going to be a walking simulator, essentially. So if you know that's what you're getting, and I knew going into it, then it's your choice if you want to do something like that. And it was a good experience in general. So I'm not saying don't pick it up, but just
I think
wait
for
Steam
three-
sales.
3/4 of us,
Should be on
it
the
was a
Steam sale right now.
fun experience, but not something for the 3/4 of us.
Yeah, I don't think anybody thought it was a bad game.
No,
Right?
Like-
no.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, don't buy it.
Yeah.
So
No, and also yes, as of recording this right now, it is on Steam sale for half off.
damn it.
And it still will be by the time this comes out. So there we go.
Nice.
You have
There you
until
go.
July
Go buy
8th,
it.
Yep.
Play it on 4th of July.
or yeah,
There's
you'll
zero
knock-
tie into that, but okay.
I know.
Yeah, yeah, you'll
Hot
knock
out,
it
they're
out in
bored.
an hour and a half, and then
Yeah.
you'll be able to move on with your life.
Go
Because
light
this
some
really is the
fireworks off.
allegory of the downfall of America, is what the whole game is.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not.
all
There's
gonna
no
be
way you can
turning
interpret
into-
it that way. You can't.
Yeah,
Challenge
we're all
accepted.
We're all
I'm
going to be
playing it
turning
again.
into carpet beasts.
Again, I'm just going to point out that a good chunk of our listener base is not US based. So 4th of July doesn't mean as much to
Also
them.
true.
I mean, they have a 4th of July too.
Yeah, I mean, you could play it on the date of, but
Yeah.
it doesn't resonate the same way. I don't know how the journey
Well, there's no
resonates in
correlation
any
between
way.
4th of July and Journey.
It's a journey, Matt.
Just a
Getting-
long weekend. for
Getting
some
getting
people.
from
would-
like your house to your parents' house to eating the hot dogs off the grill to finding your seat in the fireworks, right? Like, where am I going to sit? This is a long art. That's kind of like the mountain, right? Because you're like hunting through
It's
crap, you're
clicking
getting
now.
pushed back
It's
by
just-
other people,
Yeah.
and
I get
then
it. I
you
get
end up
what they're-
back. You end up back home after all the big boom.
get it.
After navigating through all the traffic
Yeah,
that ensues after that.
Yeah,
So
see,
that's
that's
your
why
that's
all
your
of the
big
people-
conflict.
'cause
Yeah.
Who cares?
all of the people you met, they're in the end there too.
Yeah,
I would actually be super intrigued to see what some of our international listeners think of it.
4th of July or Journey.
Journey. I don't care what they think about the 4th of July because I barely care about the 4th of July. But I was bringing that part up reminded me of a conversation I had with someone recently that I definitely play into the Irish stereotype pretty hard, at least with that kind of I come off as an Irishman a lot, apparently. That's their words.
I'm gonna hold off my comments and just say that maybe you should stop talking about the downfall of America and not caring about 4th of July.
Oh, I don't care about that.
That's
You can say,
irrelevant.
people can say whatever they want about that. Take whatever you want from it. I don't honestly give a shit. But I'd like to see the different cultural point of view with a game like this, because obviously everyone has their own type of art, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I really want to know what like the desert-born countries think of it. Like this is I walk across this occasionally, right? Like Arizona. Let's see what people there think, because it's mostly
I'm sure their
just
feelings
dunes.
are that they don't like sand. It's all coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets,
Gets
everywhere.
everywhere.
I had a couple of jokes thrown in here just in case.
On
Uh,
that note,
I got both of them
Now
out.
it's time to wrap the episode.
I got my Tatooine, and it was small, but the Arrakis joke out there. Yeah.
So
Yeah, where the sandworms at?
the next book club is going to be Destroy All Humans. We got finally our first Dan pick. So Dan has picked Destroy All Humans, and he will be a part of that episode. So look forward to that.
Specifically the remaster, by the way.
Yes, the remaster. It is on Game Pass. So if you are listening to this and want to play along to kind of get our thoughts ahead of time for the next one, go ahead, jump in, play it. Tell us what you think. Check out our website, campfiregamingpodcast.com. You can join our Discord there and drop some comments with us, have a conversation, even offer your own suggestion for a book club game. We tend to pick those out and want to play them as soon as possible because we do value your input and feedback. Twitter is at Camp Game Pod, and our Instagram is Campfire Gaming Podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, Campfire Gaming Podcast. We should be the one with the little fire on it, but there's like a few of us now, so check them out too. Why not? With that, we'll see you next time around the campfire.